Chapter 4, Mechanics of a Treatment. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Galatians 6:7. If I drop an object from my hand, it falls to the ground. Where does it fall? Why doesn't it go up in the air in some other direction? The law of gravity controls it. It cannot work in any other way. The law of mind, too, is mechanical in its action. It doesn't think, choose, or decide. It only acts. It doesn't know good and evil, rich and poor, peace and discord, health or sickness. It accepts each one of us of our own estimate or evaluation of ourselves. Its response is determined by our plane of thought and quality of consciousness. Just as water always seeks its own level, and the angles of any triangle always add up to 180 degrees, the creative mind always gives back to us whatever we think into it, or whatever is embodied within our thoughts and words. If we plant radishes in the creative medium of the soil, we get back radishes and not onions. If we sow ideas of health in the great creative mind of the universe, we get back health and not sickness. The result is according to law. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Knowing this undeviating law gives us faith in our prayers and treatment. We know that they enter into us or into those for whom they are created in such degree as we comprehend or embody them in our work. So shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but shall accomplish that whereunto it is sent. Because the law works the way it does and never works in any other way, we can give a scientific treatment and be assured of a perfect outcome or revelation of the self to the self. A treatment once given belongs to God. It is thenceforth out of the personal hands. It has become an impersonal, mechanical, subjective thing acted upon by the mind and operating in accordance with spiritual law. It is consciously given and becomes subjectively effective. It is given by the healer and becomes the property of one toward whom it is directed. It knows nothing but that which we have put into it. Its only purpose is to express that for which it was made. The rest of the process is simply an unswerving, living, and active faith in the efficacy of the treatment we have given. Steps in giving a treatment. The first step in giving a good treatment is to change the subjective trend. We act within ourselves to remove from our minds any belief in sickness, limitation, or imperfection. We neutralize the imperfect subjective patterns of disease and then substitute the more truthful and perfect patterns of health. In other words, we nullify or negate the physical manifestations of disease by a greater realization of health. The metaphysician calls this process separating the belief from the believer. Disease, like any other form of evil, is not person, place, or thing. It isn't an entity. It has no power of its own. It is merely a negative, impersonal thought operating through the mind. The power of evil and disease comes from our attention, fear, and belief. When the attention, fear, and belief are removed, the disease disappears. How does one do that? By refusing to give disease a body to act with, eyes to see with, ears to hear with, emotions to feel with, and a mind to think with. The second step in giving a spiritual treatment is to supply the subjective equivalent, or spiritual prototype of the thing or condition desired. A spiritual prototype is a definite statement of the truth about the person or condition mentioned in the treatment. Its sole purpose is to reverse the old disease thought pattern and to make room for a greater expression of the life that is already at the center of the one being treated. Since God is omnipresent, we do not have to provide ways for him to get into people, but we must develop means for him to get out. The spiritual prototype provides a greater outlet of divine life from the center to the circumference. The treatment is given through the conscious mind but becomes effective in the subconscious mind. It is not holding thoughts or willing things to happen. It is the silent contemplation of God at the point where sickness and trouble seem to be. It is calling the good, reality, out of the bad, the temporal, and the desirable, perfection, out of the undesirable, imperfection. Repetition and treatment. One of the much discussed subjects in metaphysical circles is how many times should the treatment be given? The answer is until the work is done. Some healers get quick results from their treatment, but the majority of healers do not. Delay should not deter or discourage us. However, for the space between the prayer and the answer is no more than the time required to reach a point of agreement in our own mind. Now is the accepted time. God is responsive intelligence. God is omniactive. It is done. If we had the vision, comprehension, illumination, and unshakable conviction that Jesus had, every demonstration would be instantaneous. We too could speak the word that nothing could stop. The waiting period in every demonstration is determined by two things: the degree of understanding, comprehension, and the realization of the healer and his ability to reach the subconscious mind and make a sufficiently deep impression upon it. If the impression is shallow, as in the case of a partial acceptance and realization, the time element will be drawn out. If it is deep, as in the case of perfect agreement with the principle, it will be instantaneous. But in either case, it is a matter of spiritual growth, practice, and unfoldment. We shall never go beyond our mental equivalent. We shall never demonstrate anything by our own consciousness. Since we can expect every demonstration in the present moment, let us realize that all subsequent treatments on the same problem are but a continuation of the first. There is only one treatment in any claim. It should continue as long as treatment is needed. Repetition brings revelation. What is this good thing you are trying to project into your own or another's experience? Can you visualize it? Is it clear to you? Get a clear picture of what you wish to objectify and contemplate it regularly. Go into the silence 3 times a day. Claim the perfect creation as your own. Mentally accept it and determine your inner self. Give it to you. Then close your treatment with a mighty paean of praise and thanksgiving to God for bringing perfection within the reach of man. Reaching a conclusion. Now when Solomon made an end of praying, the fire came down from heaven. 2 Corinthians 7:1. There are many important factors in giving an effective treatment, but probably none is more important than the termination of the prayer. This is a very pertinent problem for those who fail in their purpose. Treatments long drawn out or poorly formed and executed are like clouds without rain. To be effective, a treatment must fill 3 demands. It must be conscious. It must be positive. It must reach a complete conclusion. The compact whole then becomes a nucleus that attracts all the creative forces of good. This process continues until there is an overt expression or manifestation that corresponds to the nucleus. It is a wise person, therefore, who learns early in his experience when and how to let go and when and how to let God. Now when Solomon made an end of praying, the fire came down from heaven and consumed the burnt offering from the sacrifice, and the glory of the Lord filled the house, filled Solomon's consciousness. Giving a treatment without reaching a conclusion is futile. It is like trying to make bricks without straw or posting a letter without a stamp. It is like holding a fishing fly over the water without dropping it in. There is no point of contact with the water and consequently no fish. When there is no contact with the law, there can be no manifestation. Solomon said, "Trust in the Lord," or law, "with all thy heart or mind." In other words, release your treatment into creative activity by acceptance, forgetfulness, and detachment. Know as Jesus did that it is done, then have done with it. Personal obligation ceases when we reach a complete conclusion in the treatment. Of mine own self I can do nothing. The Father within me doeth the work. Let go of the treatment by addressing the inner self in some such manner as this. Here, subjective mind is my treatment, a perfect pattern and vehicle for you to work through. You are a willing and able servant, and you are never made a mistake. You will carry out my orders to the letter. You are even now acting upon my instruction. God bless you for your help. Instantaneous healing. The fields are white already to harvest. John 4:35. Now is the accepted time. 2 Corinthians 6:2. There are 2 sides to the law of seed time and harvest. On the material side, things occur slowly or in sequence. We tend to think in terms of human experience, and results follow the pattern we established. But Jesus revealed a new pattern. Say not ye, there are yet 4 months, and then cometh the harvest? Behold, I say unto you, lift up your eyes and look unto the field, for they are white already to harvest. On the spiritual plane there is neither past nor future. Ideas are formed in the present. All good things are in instant fulfillment. Demonstration is instantaneous. Now read our text again. The fields are white already to harvest. The kingdom of heaven is finished, present and within man now. God, responsive intelligence, is now this moment. Now is the accepted time. Before they call, I will answer. Then why do we have to wait on our demonstration? If the things we desire from God are in instant fulfillment, why are they so long in coming? Can it be due to some failure on the part of God? No. The failure is in ourselves. We have failed to cooperate sufficiently with the Spirit of God. We have not kept our thinking in accord with truth. We have chosen to believe the human mind, which lends itself to delay and limitation, instead of the Christ mind, which is active and instant in expression. For he spake, and it was done. He commanded, and it stood fast. That instantaneous healing do occur at times no one will deny. Metaphysical history is full of them. But all healings and demonstrations are not instantaneous, for we have not incorporated the idea of immediacy into our consciousness. We still believe in time, growth, anticipation, struggle, delay, and imitation. Our words have no substance because we still pray in a divided mind. Our results are negative because we do not realize that we are dealing with divine mind and not the human mind. Our desires are unfulfilled because we still have more faith in matter than in spirit. If instantaneous healings take place outside the time process, the way we get instant result is to think solely with the spirit and to visualize our desires already created in form. The prayer of faith shall save the sick. Healing is not mere relief from disease, but a positive relation with Christ, realization of the divine life within. This awareness of the presence will raise your whole being to a new level. Strong, true thoughts or affirmations will develop this new consciousness. Replace any thought of weakness by true thought of strength. Let the weak say I am strong. The Lord is the strength of my life. I can do all things through Christ who strengthened me. True faith will cause our good to draw near and near. Happiness, health, strength, success, consciousness of God, according to your faith be it unto you. All things are possible to him that believeth. Dismissing weakness and sickness from my mind, I lay hold of the inexhaustible strength and life of God. I am a conscious center of the one life that is always creating, healing, blessing, perfecting. In this sense, Christ lives within me. The healing power of Christ circulates through every artery of my body, filling me with divine saving health. God, of whom my life is part as my finger is part of my hand, is filling me with increasing strength and peace hour by hour. Infinite love from the Father sheds a tender, forth-giving spirit throughout my whole being, relieving all pain, tension, fretfulness. Open to God every hour of the day. You cannot think of God too often. The continued sense of his presence will give you an inner peace and joy. Replace, therefore, any thought of depression, irritation, or apprehension with words like these. Thou hast put gladness into my heart. In thy presence is fullness of joy. Joy cometh in the morning. The joy of Christ is my joy. It is joy victorious, triumphant, overcoming. Before welcoming sleep at night or during the day, repeat the following words slowly, breathing after each word. I will give unto you rest. My peace I give unto you. Father, into thy hands I command my spirit. In quietness and confidence shall be your strength. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. Be still, and know that I am God. Underneath are the everlasting arms.